Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews. I know a lot of you Hebrews been listening to me, and a lot of you Hebrews starting to come around to the understanding of your history. But this is what I want to show you, Hebrews, to let you know that you're dealing with something serious, and that the Israelite Brotherhood got the real history, and that you can't get it from no better person than the boss of them Jews. The Rothschilds set the promised land up. The Rothschilds set the promised land up for them Jews. And then they got descendants. Them Jews, them Rothschilds got descendants. And, one of the bosses of the promised land for them Jews is the Edmund D. Rothschild, foundation in they descendants. You know what I'm saying? They run the promised land, and then they got folks there. And I befriended, one of the Rothschilds, well, a couple of Rothschilds, and the boss. And I want to show you, Hebrews, how serious this is, and how, this is real serious, and how you Hebrews need to take what I say to heart, because you're dealing with somebody that know what's going on. And I'm showing you what's going on, and this is how we're going to wake up. And also, Hebrews, them other organizations that you Hebrew Israelites are affiliated with, man, y'all need to cut them loose, because they don't know no truth, and they holding us up. The Israelite Brotherhood should be in a position to be the spokesman for the whole Israelite community. Yes, the king. You dealing with the king. Okay, check this out, Hebrews. Look, on the Facebook page, let me establish this, and that's one of the movies he done showed them. But you see right there, he slick. He got Edmund, D. Rothschild, and then he got the Queen of England face up, the Majesty. But you know who the real boss is. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be them. You know what I'm saying? Them Rothschilds. And check this out. Okay, how about he was showing a video, about something being done in Washington and stuff, and you know what I'm saying, and then he, advertise of the king. Letting you know that he calling shots. You know what I'm saying? That he called the shot of whatever they doing in Washington. You know what I'm saying? Okay, he even laughed. Now check this out. This is what I did. Now this is the real king. Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Look what I posted. I am king of Tanakh history, dealing with the Israelites. I've been shooting history at him and letting him know, you know what I'm saying, that we the Israelites. And hey, game over with. We the real Israelites. And, we're going to have to come to some type of terms, man, you know what I'm saying, with our Israelite heritage and in the promised land. We're going to get to that. All right, but look what the boss said. After I said I'm king of the Israelite history, you know what I'm saying, that I got correct history. You know what I'm saying? Look, check this out. I am king of Tanakh history, dealing with the Israelites. And guess what? The boss man agreed. You know what I'm saying? I've been shooting the history at him. You know what I'm saying? I've been shooting the history at him, and he been reading it. You know what I'm saying? And, we're friends here, as well as another Rothschild. And this one here control the promised land. Check this out. I'm going to show you. Man, this the boss man. This the boss man. All right, if you, let's see here. All right. We're going to go to his page on Facebook. All right, look. Works at Rothschild and Company. Business owner, engineer. Now, the engineer is the one that put everything together. He put the programs together, whatever it is. And, they've been putting programs together for a long time. Look, owner and founder at the Edmund Rothschild Foundation. That's in the promised land. That's in the promised land right there. You know what I'm saying? That's in the promised land, and then they got land in the promised land, and been had land since they got it from the British. That's how the Jews got back in the promised land, is because of these folks right here. You know what I'm saying? All right, Hebrews, you see that your boy agreed that Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood got correct history. You know what I'm saying? And that I'm king of the history. You know what I'm saying? So you Hebrews got to listen to me. And if you don't listen to me, you ain't finna learn real Israelite history, because ain't none of these other Israelite organizations talking about the Scythians, Ashkenazi, in the Assyrian Empire, and things that went on in our past that led up to our enslavement and us Israelites breaking the covenant. And also, Hebrews, them Rothschilds is something serious. They the founders of the Illuminati. Yes, if you look at some of his friends, oh man, they all Illuminatis, and you know that's cool. That's what they do. But we Israelites, and we trying to reestablish our heritage, and that's more important than anything. You see what I'm saying? That's more important than anything. So all these little organizations that done sprung up after we broke covenant don't mean nothing when you know truth. You see what I'm saying? All right, check this out, Hebrews. I'm going to run it down again. You Hebrews that's in these organizations, you know, it's a lot of Israelite organizations, that them organizations are not teaching you no truth. They not teaching you that we broke the covenant in the book of Jeremiah. They not teaching you that we ran into Africa, all the tribes, and that we were enslaved from Africa. And then what a coincidence. I've been telling you, Hebrews, how that our first derogatory name was Gramentian. Check this out. This is what they done did. Look here. Y'all know they got these diseases that they done unleashed, that I done explained how enemies are the originator of these diseases, and been practicing and doing this stuff for a long time, and how they done, you know, perfected that stuff now. But check this out. Our first derogatory name was Gramentian. Okay, not too long ago, but man, I think maybe a couple of days ago that they released this report, man, about a smallpox outbreak that swept through Boston. You know, this was the latest in a string of 6 epidemics that had since 1630 laid waste to the city. Cotton Mather, a local slave owner and preacher, claimed to be in possession of a way of preventing contracting of the disease. Mather, who had first come to public prominence as one of the thinkers behind the Salem witch trials, had gotten the method from one of his former slaves. Now check this out. They called the slave a Gramentian. This is what Mathers called the slave. They identified him as a Negro and then called him a Gramentian. You see what I'm saying? Now, I've been telling you, Hebrews, that that's our first derogatory name, and that when the the Gramentes had a standing army, man, that's in Africa, a standing, organized army with a government. That's was the Israelites that broke covenant in the book of Jeremiah. We had an army. Our army ran into Africa. We was scared of Ashkenazi, the same boss that I'm talking to and been corresponding with. We were scared of his ancestors, and they chased us into Africa under the name Scythian. You see what I'm saying? And then when we went into Africa, into Egypt, now the Egyptians played a part in this, and also Hebrews, the Egyptian heritage. Now these Negroes, these sellout Hebrews that didn't embrace the Egyptian culture since we've been in captivity, don't have no truth. They don't know no truth, and that the Egyptian culture is tied into the Illuminati culture. Yes, yes. So those Israelites that's embracing the Egyptian culture, you embracing the Illuminati culture also. Yes, yes, they intertwined, they connected. Yes, yes. And if you look at some of the Illuminati worshippers, they got a lot of Egyptian symbolism, you know what I'm saying, wrapped around them. But okay, back to this this comment, you know what I'm saying, about this Negro, this slave that the slave owner had in 1630. You know what I'm saying? That it was a smallpox and swept through the town and stuff in Boston, and how this Cotton Mathers had a slave that he called the Gramentes. You see what I'm saying? That was our first derogatory name. All right, I'm gonna pick back up. Mathers, who had first come to public prominence as one of the thinkers behind the Salem witch trials, had gotten the method from one of his former slaves. 15 years earlier, Matthew's congregation had purchased from him an African slave. You know, that's a derogatory name. A young man who is a Negro of promising aspect and temper. Matthew named him one womanist, one onesimus, after a slave in the Bible whose name meant useful. Mather describes, see, knowing he a Hebrew, naming him after some figures in the Hebrew, you know what I'm saying, Bible and stuff. Them devils was slick back in the slavery days. Check this out. Mathers described ominous as being Gramentes. Look, he describes ominous as being Gramentes, but it is unclear what ethnic group, you know what I'm saying, this refers to. They know, but look, called him a Negro, a young man who is a Negro of prominence. And then as you read on, the slave owner called him a Gramentes, because those are the people that they captured in the Sahara. See, they've been tricking folks, making everybody think, the Babylonian scribes been making everybody think that all Africans been taken into slavery. That's why come we don't have no solidarity with the Africans right now, is because that they wasn't enslaved, and that they wasn't the people that the Europeans targeted when they came to Africa, and that they came for the Hebrews that was given the derogatory name by the Greeks. You see what I'm saying? We've been had the derogatory name Gramentes. And then when they came into Africa, man around about these parts. Man around about these parts. You see, man, one thing, man, Gaddafi kept the Sahara free of those archaeological people. They been trying to get in there real bad. And then since they got rid of him, they then got in the Sahara and start changing stuff around, because they know that's where we Hebrews was. All right, well, when we left the promised land in the book of Jeremiah, and then we went into Egypt, and then the Babylonians, the Scythians, Ashkenaz, and them came on into Egypt. And then, you know, we went on deeper into the Sahara. One of the names Sub-Sahara come from. When we went deep into the Sahara, and then our first derogatory name was called Gramentians. And like I said, that all Africans wasn't taken to slavery during the transatlantic slave trade, like the Congo groups, the Ethiopians, the Sudan, the South Africans, the Pygmies, the Tutsis, the Barbers. None of those folks was taken into slavery and stuff. And that how we end up being enslaved is because we was robbing and stealing and killing the same stuff that we doing now, is that we did in Africa and that we did in the promised land. That's what got us kicked out the promised land, is that we was robbing and killing and stealing from each other. Not that we was stealing and killing our enemies. We was doing it to each other, and we been our worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? The Hebrew been their worst enemy. We our worst enemy. And it's been like that since biblical days. And our enemies know this. You see what I'm saying? And then that's why come they keep pushing self-destruction through the music, you know? But anyway, us Hebrews ran into the Sahara by way of Egypt, and then we had this civilization that they called the Gramentes. Now, we didn't call ourselves that. That's a title that the Greeks named us. And I got videos going into this history, you know, and I show you how the water supply system dried up on us, and how we had conflict with the Chad and the Congo groups, the Chad, the Congo groups, and the Angola groups. And then also, that's like all these nations and peoples that's been here for thousands of years that ain't never left, and that we know that the west coast of Africa is where they held the slave ships and so forth, and that them people ain't never left, and that they was never enslaved, and and how did they try to connect us to them people, and that we will not the Israelite Brotherhood, but the so-called African American community been accepting false history about Africa and our connection to it, like they have with biblical history. Thinking that we in the New Testament, and not knowing the truth about Tanakh history. And I just showed you, Hebrews, how the Rothschild even agree that I'm the king of the Israelite history. You know what I'm saying? That's just point blank. I ain't flexing. I'm not trying to flex, and I'm not trying to knock nobody down, but this is something serious, and I've been prepared and raised for this. You see what I'm saying? This been my job for a long time, and I done perfected it. I got thousands of hours. Man, I'm talking about unbelievably thousands of hours, 80 and 90,000 hours dealing with consistent Israelite history. You know what I'm saying? Non-stop. All right, Hebrews, you Hebrew Israelites that's in these other organizations that's been accepting them lies that we the people in the New Testament, or that we ran into Africa in 70 AD, or that we some Hebrews that went to Europe and lived good and just had a good time and spread all over the world, or that we the Israelites in Africa today that never lost their heritage. Oh man, no, you got to listen to the history that I show. And the history that I show is correct. And this is coming from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is coming from the Israelite Brotherhood. And I'm finna show you Hebrews again. You Hebrews that's in them camps, that's in them groups that don't have no truth. I'm finna show you how we ran into Africa. We ran into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah gonna be our last prophet for the 99%, because it never was any 10 lost tribes, as I got plenty videos stating this. All right, Hebrews. If you go to Jeremiah chapter 44, we're going to go to 42. This is what led up to us going into Africa, is that the Egyptians killed King Josiah. The Egyptians killed King Josiah, being around about 604 or something like that. But they killed King Josiah because the Egyptians were some puppets of the Assyrians who was getting took down through there. Ashkenazi was killing the Assyrians, and they extinct the Assyrians, wiped them off the face of the earth, wiped them off the whole earth, the whole Assyrian empire. Ashkenazi went in there and did it, and I explained how Ashkenazi did it, and how the Assyrians, before they was destroyed, tried to come get us Hebrews to help them. And then, I explained that while we was messing with that Egyptian religion, see, it's a whole lot going on. See, we was on Egyptian religion also, and then that's one of the reasons why the Jews secretly promote an Egyptian and have a love for an Egyptian heritage and ideology, is because that the real Hebrews got messed up for messing with that stuff. So it can't be nothing but a blessing to the people that are portraying to be Israelites, if they embracing the Egyptian culture. And that's why come the Egyptian culture been put on us in this Western Hemisphere, because the people who we abandoned our heritage to founded the Americas. Everybody know the conquistadors coming from Spain and stuff was them undercover Jews and stuff, and how they went to South America and then North America. And then we know how the banking system is, in control of their hands, as well as all industry that's worth anything. Okay, we abandoned our heritage in during the Babylonian Wars to the Sephardi Jews. We was chased into Africa by Ashkenazi. You know, it's like they did a tag team on us. You know, everybody's doing tag team on us. You know, we're in a wrestling match for the promised land. And then we got whooped up out of there. Well, the Sephardi groups were placed in Samaria in 722 BC while we was on Egyptian religion. You know, like I say, we was messed up on the Egyptian religion from our association with Egypt, you know, from when we exodus Egypt, and then how some of them Egyptians come with us, and then how the tribe of Ephraim, Manasseh and Ephraim were secret plants by Pharaoh from giving Joseph Asenath. And then when he gave Joseph Asenath, the priest of On daughter, the tribe of Ephraim kept an association with Egypt. And then that would keep the Egyptian religion in the promised land. Remember, us Israelites were told not to do the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture, and that the Creator gave us a covenant that would have destroyed the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture. You see, that's why come, you know, Egypt, you know, put they gods and they culture to destroy us, is because that they couldn't come across the promised land and then do trade with they other wicked friends, with they idol worshiping hybrid tails, making hybrid gods, alligator heads on human bodies, and all kind of hybridness and stuff. And all right, how about that? You know, that when we got that law from Prophet Moses, that the Egyptians couldn't come across the promised land, and we was cutting them off. That the Creator was cutting them off with us. And our job was to just do the covenant, and the Creator was with us, and that the Egyptian culture would have been extinguished. You see, and then we was already going in to destroy the Canaanite culture. And what a coincidence. The culture that we have today, this evil and wickedness that's going on, is a Canaanite culture. Is a Canaanite culture. The very same peoples that we didn't destroy, their culture is flourishing now and is gobbling the whole earth up. And that's why we Israelites have to hurry up and wake up and come back into heritage so we can, you know, straighten some things up. All right, check this out. How about that? When we did the covenant, that it would have destroyed the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture, and that we was going in to destroy the evil, wicked Canaanite culture, and that, you know, we didn't do that, and that them folks tricked us and put their party and everything on us, and Egypt put their God on us, and then we was driven out the land. But, you know, before we was driven out the land, you know, we did a lot of mischief towards each other. And then, you know, King Josiah would clean the promised land up. You know, we had been on Egyptian religion for 300 years since the death of King David in I think it was 971, because Solomon was wicked and he caused us to lose the covenant by, you know, bringing all them old enemies into the land and then letting them worship their gods on the promised land. And then, you know, that would, you know, we would have a downfall from there all the way to King Josiah was born, and then he cleaned the kingdom up, you know, the northern and the southern kingdom. And then the Egyptians killed him and put us back on Egyptian religion, and then we would go into Africa, and then that's where the book of Jeremiah pick up. All right, now let's look at some of this. Let's look at some of this. All right, if you go to, let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 41, and let's see Pharaoh give Joseph Asenath. And Asenath had Manasseh and Ephraim. And Ephraim always, you know, did the Egyptian culture and so forth. All right. I always did the Egyptian culture and associated with the Egyptians, something that we wasn't supposed to do. You know, we were supposed to destroy the Egyptian culture by doing, you know, the law that the Creator gave us. But if you go to Genesis 41, verse 45, you will see, and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaniah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went all over the land of Egypt. And unto Joseph were born two sons before they were of years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him. You know, so Manasseh and Ephraim was born, and then we know them Egyptians exodus with us. You know, they exodus with us, and you can see that if by going to I think there's Exodus 13. All right, Exodus 12, verse 38. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, flocks and herds and very much cattle. So, you know, we know that when we Exodus Egypt, and that, you know, the Creator got us up out of there, and then that when Prophet Moses went up to get the law, the covenant that would have destroyed the Egyptian culture, and that we start fooling with Hathor, the golden calf, and that golden calf is Ra, Ptah, Amen, and you know, all the Egyptians God intertwined, and how that, you know, we would, you know, fall victim, you know what I'm saying, to the Egyptian culture and worship, just leaving Egypt. And then how, you know, Prophet Moses cleaned it up, you know, and got us back on the good foot, and we would stay on the good foot all the way to Joshua. And then when Joshua died, that how did the Canaanite tribes we were supposed to destroy, these folks right here, the Canaanite tribes, the Jebusites, who ain't nothing but Amorites, and the Sephardi's are Amorites. And the Amorites are the founders of Babylon. Well, we were supposed to destroy their culture. And we didn't. You know, they gave us a bunch of parties. And they gave us their gods, you know, and then we got throwed off. And then that was after Joshua's death. And then how that, you know, we didn't, you know, had the judges. We went through the judges era, and then how after the judges era, you know, we was enslaved back then. We the most enslaved peoples on the face of this earth, us Israelites. All right, how about that after the judges, then Samuel, and then Saul, and then King David. Oh man, King David, and King David coming back is that the 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 will to fight and get the land, and do the will of the Creator, and hold that land down is what King David did. And that Davidness and Elijah is coming back because Prophet Elijah was a religion killer. He hated all religions that didn't have nothing to do with Almighty Yah. He was against them. And them two spirits is coming back in us. You know, them two spirits is coming back in us. That's like I would love to convince the Rothschilds to let us set up in Liberia, us Hebrew Israelites, and then let us start to get West Africa. You know, we got some dues, you know, Africa got some dues that they owe us. Africa got dues that they owe us. And we need to get there, and we need to get to Liberia and train, and then eventually, you know, start, you know, taking over, you know, Africa. You know, I know we can do it, you know, and the system and the peoples, you know, that got us in captivity know that we can do it. Let them start emptying us over into Liberia and see what happened to West Africa, you know, and then arm us. And then give us all the arms we need. This ain't no black on black. You know, I don't believe in that old mess, that black on black. You know what I'm saying? Because it was black folks that enslaved us, and helped capture us and feed us to our enemies and so forth. And then it's pigmented peoples all over the face of the earth. And that how the non-pigmented peoples were designed just to punish us Israelites. You know, but this about to come to an end, you know, and how we waking up, and then, you know, they ain't gonna be able to trick us no more. All right, but check this out, Hebrews. When we, you know, left Egypt, and then Prophet Moses got the law, and then, you know, we went into the promised land, getting into the promised land. Joshua, you know, we did right. Samuel, we tried to do right. Saul, we was there. King David, we did right. Solomon, we fell off, and we fell off for 300 years till King Josiah was born, and it was a prophecy for him, you know. And then Solomon chased Jeroboam into Egypt, who was from the tribe of Ephraim. And then him being from the tribe of Ephraim, and that Ephraim had an association with the Egyptians. as I can show this real quick, and I kept, you know what I'm saying, I keep saying this, how, you know, Ephraim had an association with the Egyptians. But if you look at Hosea 12, and this is in 753 BC, all right, Ephraim feedeth on wind and followed after the east wind, and he daily increases lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant with Assyrians. With the Assyrians, and all is carried into Egypt. And all is carried into Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, this is what Ephraim did, because the Ephraim were kin to the Egyptians. That was they folks. You know, that was they folks. And that's been they folks for a long time. And then that's what caused us Israelites, men, to lose our heritage, is because the tribe of Ephraim association with the Egyptians. You know, as I show you that Solomon chased Ephraim, Jeroboam, who was from the tribe of Ephraim, into Egypt. And then we would be downhill from there, and we would only be straight from Egyptian religion for 31 years during the reign of King Josiah. And after his death, we would go back to Egyptian religion. Now, we was told from the beginning that if we do all this stuff in the promised land, that we was going to get kicked out. And it eventually came to pass. And, you know, I show you this history, you know, throughout them videos that I got for the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, if you go to, that'll be 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 26. And Jeroboam the son of Nebat, a Ephrathite, see, he's an Ephraimite of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zurah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. You know, so look, and Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshank. That's going to be his relatives. Them are going to be the people that control Lower Libya. You know, those are the people that control Lower Libya. All right, and Shawshank. So that's, you know, that's going to be Jeroboam's kin. And Solomon would chase him to Jeroboam. Solomon would chase Jeroboam into Egypt and couldn't come in there and bother him. All right, and this is 1 Kings 11:40. And Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshank, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. You know, and then he would come out and put that Egyptian religion on us, that Egyptian culture. He will put the Egyptian culture on us. And then you can see this right here, and this is also a prophecy for the destruction of the Egyptian culture, which came by King Josiah 300 years later. And behold, there came a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel. Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. All right, you see, that's the prophecy for King Josiah. But before then, you know, Jeroboam brought the 2 golden calves out. All right, and then let's show this. All right, if you go to 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 28, whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. So, you know, then he said 2 of them Egyptian institutions up, one in Bethel and one in Dan. Now we know that Bethel was controlled by the northern kingdom. All right, so you see that the Egyptian culture was there, and then in 931 BC, this is the prophecy for King Josiah to get rid of that Egyptian culture, which came about, and Prophet Jeremiah was there. You know, Prophet Jeremiah was there when King Josiah got rid of the Egyptian religion 300 years after this prophecy was said. And then we will go into Africa during that time and be given all those bad names while we in Africa, and then would be eventually enslaved, and then here we are today trying, you know what I'm saying, waking up. All right, and behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim and said, Altar, altar, this said the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. Upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. So Josiah would do that 300 years later. King Josiah would do that 300 years later. He would do that 300 years later, and while all the tribes was there. So it never was any 10 lost tribes. And I'm going to show this. Also, when I'm doing that, if you go to 2 Chronicles 30, first let's show them Sephardims being placed in our land while we was on the Egyptian religion. See, we on that Egyptian religion that Jeroboam placed all the way to King Josiah cleaned it up. Now the tribe of Judah would hold strong and would have kings that would follow the law, and then they would have kings that would follow our tradition in the northern kingdom, the Egyptian culture and so forth. But if you go to 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24, you'll see the word Sephardim. All right, them Babylonian scribes right there, them the ones that have constructed our history since we've been in captivity, along as with Ashkenazi. But these the folks that laid the foundation for it, because we abandoned our heritage to them. And then, they would lose their power to Ashkenazi. But we abandoned our heritage to them during the Babylonian wars. And that's when we was chased out of the promised land from being on the Egyptian religion that Jeroboam brung out of Egypt. And then how King Josiah would clean it up for 31 years. And then the Babylonians would come, and then we would go into Africa and be called Grammentians and all them old bad names and stuff. Now, we know that them Caucasians didn't have a lot of press and books, and that when they captured that Negro, that Mathers Cotton, the slave owner, had captured that. I read that article, and how did the ship capture would have told him that this is a Grammentian. You see what I'm saying? All right. And the king of Assyria, this is 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutter and from Abel and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Now those are the Babylonian scribes that's responsible for Norjel, Nabu, Enki, and all the fallen angelic beings of the Babylonian gods history. They responsible for all that, and they responsible for Western civilization as Amorites. It was their culture that we were supposed to destroy, that we didn't, that we are enslaved to now. See, we enslaved to their culture right now, that Babylonian Canaanite culture that we didn't destroy as Israelites. When we come out of Egypt, we enslaved to this culture now. Well, them people, put it down. All right, the Sephardims, who are Sephardi and Sephardic and Sephardim. All right, you see they was placed in Samaria in 722 BC. So we was on Egyptian religion for a long time. And then they placed in Samaria. They slick. They ain't with Judah, placed in Judah, where King Hezekiah and all them at, because they would have got it. They would have perished. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? They come to the Passover dinner with us Israelites when King Josiah had all the people come to the Passover dinner, which show also that we escaped the Assyrians. Remember, this is 722 BC. Well, if you go to 2 Chronicles chapter 30, this is 7 years after those folks was placed, those Sephardims. This is in 715 BC. This is in 715 BC. See, this is why I'm the king of the Israelite history, and even the Rothschilds recognize this, is because I show you what happened for real in history, and that we ain't dealing with no myths and no lies that the Israelites in them other organizations, the leader in them organizations, them picked up and then been enforcing on the people, and then being that the people don't have no alternatives, they done accepted that mess. But once you hear this history and hear what I'm saying, you should break away from that other stuff that them Hebrews talking about. Because if they ain't talking about this in the fashion that I'm talking about it, then they ain't talking about nothing. You know what I'm saying? You wasting your time getting all hyped up thinking you spiritually aware. You got to get free to be spiritually aware of anything. We got to have sovereignty over ourselves. We got to have sovereignties over ourselves. How a slave in captivity gonna have choices and stuff. All right. Hezekiah. This is King Hezekiah. This is proving that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You know, and also that them Jews that's been coming their heritage off that 10 lost tribe mess, oh man, they finna fall off like dominoes because, you know, it's over with. You know, we got correct history now. All right. And Hezekiah, this is in 715 BC. And this show you that, you know, we was on the Egyptian, well, that we was all here. And that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. And that, you know, King Hezekiah wasn't letting that Egyptian worship that the northern kingdom was doing get into Judah during his reign. All right, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel in Judah, see, to all Israel in Judah, and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh. Those going to be the bosses of the northern kingdom, Ephraim is, and they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month, for they had not kept it at that time because the priests had not sanctified themselves, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation, so they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah at Jerusalem, for they had not done of a long time in such sort as it was written. Now, he said from Beersheba to Dan. Let's look at that. Let's look at that, because you still got these Israelite organizations. I think that ICIU, where they teaching and preaching it 10 lost tribe mess, that Nathaniel leader, you a whole bunch of you organizations that's out there. If the Israelite Brotherhood get on the international level, man, y'all, shoot, man, you better watch out, because you ain't gonna keep teaching the Israelites this false history. You ain't gonna keep teaching the Israelites this false history when clear history is here. And a whole bunch of them Israelite leaders in them organizations is on my Facebook page, and they know that correct history is here, but they still pushing false history to the Israelites. You know, it's gonna have to be some payment for that one of these days. I'm here to tell you, is the Israelite Brotherhood get on the international level, you Hebrews that's teaching false history, you're gonna have to watch out. Especially if you out in the public and in the public arena teaching false history, you know, you're going to have to watch out, because you can't go back to the promised land with that garbage, with that demigod worship, and with that false history thinking everybody is Israelites. You know, it's finna come a time where you false teachers finna have to fall off. All right, look, you see, Hezekiah, look. So let's see from Beersheba to Dan that King Hezekiah sent a letter. This is in 715 BC. This is a 10 lost tribe myth killer. All right. Look, you see, from Beersheba. Now, why would he send a letter from Beersheba all the way to Dan? That's the whole inheritance. That's the whole inheritance. Now check what King Hezekiah say. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are escaped out of the hands of the kings of Assyria. You see that S on kings of Assyria? And be not like unto your fathers, and like unto your brethren, which trespassed against the Elohim Yah of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as you see. And then that's going to be the northern kingdom army. You know what I'm saying? That kind of like had power over the northern kingdom. The Assyrians came and snatched them while they was on Egyptian religion. And if you go to First Chronicles, I turn right to it. All praise be Almighty Yah. All right, First Chronicles chapter 5, and you'll see this. And when you go to chapter 5, and then you go to verse 18, then the sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men, able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 40,044,000 and 760 that went out to war. You know what I'm saying? Them would make war. You know what I'm saying? Them was the ones that the Assyrians needed, because they was fighting for their life with Ashkenazi coming up out of the Caucasus Mountain, coming down into Assyria and taking it over. You know, they done already swung around the Zagros and then got into Babylon from the back way. So they was, knocking Assyria off. All right. If you go to First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26, and the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, in the spirit of Talcapnazer, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Harlah and Harbor and Horror, and unto the river Gazun unto this day. So, they snatched the army and then took them off. You know what I'm saying? So that 10 lost tribe stuff is over with. And if any Hebrew teaching that stuff, that 10 lost tribes stuff, you're going to be in trouble one day. You're going to get arrested. You're going to get arrested in the Israelite community. If we ever get some land in the promised land and we get by ourselves and you get to teaching that stuff, it's going to be Israelite brotherhood everywhere. You ain't going to know who all the member is, and you're going to be teaching that stuff and you're going to get carried away. You're going to get carried away. That's what's going to end up happening. I'm telling you, Hebrews now, you're going to be preaching that demigod stuff, and then you're going to get carried away. Somebody just going to come grab you. You're just going to be gone. You're just going to disappear, because you ain't going to be preaching no demigod Jesus worship in the promised land. And then all them other folks that's in the promised land, them Christian organizations, when we get there, their time is numbered. They time is numbered. All the religions that's in the promised land that don't worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when we get there, they days is numbered. I'm telling you how the Tanakh go. And the Tanakh history been correct from the beginning until now. The Tanakh history been on time and on course from the time that Prophet Moses said what he said to now. I'm here to tell you. All right, look here. All right, so we see that we didn't escape the Syrians as stated by King Hezekiah, and this is in 715 BC. This is the Sebhardies by the name Sepharvims under they name stranger. They gonna come to the Passover dinner during this time too. But as you read the second Chronicles chapter 30 dealing with Hezekiah in 715 BC, you're going to see that the tribe's still there. He already said that we escaped the Syrians. So as you read down, and then, from 30, and then you get to verse 10. So the post passed from city to city through the country of Ephraim, Manasseh, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. So the Syrian captivity didn't mean nothing. They mocking folks. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and come to Jerusalem, also in Judah. You know what I'm saying? So they came, and then as you keep reading, you know what I'm saying? And then you get down to verse 18. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, Ishkar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet they did eat the Passover. And I'm going to tell you, that's like the name Zebulun, Manasseh, Ephraim. Those going to be our last names, from our forefathers, and then they had territory, and that was their last name. So a bunch of them folks with the last names Zebulun and Manasseh going to be there, and Ephraim and Ishkar. Those were our last names from our forefathers and so forth. That's like how we got the slave owners' last names, Smith, Johnsons, and Jacksons, and so forth. Those was our last names, and then the people come from the territory that was allotted them, and they came to the Passover dinner. And then, as you can see, once you read to Second Chronicles 30 verse 25, and all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation that come out of Israel and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel and that dwell in Judah rejoice. So that's going to be those Sephardi folks that was placed in 715 BC in our land. They going to come to the Passover dinner, the strangers. They gonna come to the Passover dinner and learn our heritage. And when we run off during the Babylonian wars to go worship the Egyptian religion, they will have our culture and heritage. And that's the false myths that you Hebrews get today. And that's why come if you Hebrews ain't going to the history according to the way that I'm showing it, then your history gonna be off. You know, it's going to be a whole bunch of y'all going to cry and whine about this, but it can't change. If you ain't showing the history that I'm showing that's coming from the Tanakh and showing the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi Jews got our heritage, then your history is off, point blank. Ain't no negotiating on that. It's non-negotiating. We ain't negotiating on the Israelite history. If it ain't correct, then it's off. It's non-negotiable. It's off. All right. Teaching them myths. The myths, that stuff finna come to an end. You Hebrews don't know. I'm working on it. You ain't gonna be able, you gonna be one of them leaders in them organization teaching lies and the truth been shown to you, then you gonna have to fall off. You got to. Alright, so we know that tribes were still there, and then the tribes not mentioned during Hezekiah time gonna be mentioned under his great grandson King Josiah, who was the prophecy king to get rid of that Egyptian religion, which he did. If you go to Second Chronicles 34, this is around about 640 BC. King Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 130 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand or to the left. He ain't negotiating with them other religions. I ain't me, king of the Israelite Brotherhood. I'm not negotiating with no religion. It's non-negotiable. Your religion is off. All right. If it ain't, teaching this truth. We don't believe in religions. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the Yah of David, his father. And in the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, and the groves, and carved images, and the molten images. And they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, and the images that were on high above them, and cut down the groves and the carved images and the molten images. He brake in pieces and made dust of them, and strode it upon the graves that they sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altar, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh and Ephraim. See, Ephraim ain't even had no power over King Josiah, and Ephraim had an Egyptian connection. Look, and so did he in the city. That probably be one of the reasons why the Egyptians killed King Josiah. So did he in the cities of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattucks round about. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and had beaten the graven images and the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. So he cleaned up the whole Israel. He cleaned up the whole Israel, and then prophet Jeremiah would come around during this time. The high priest Halakai, that's going to be prophet Jeremiah's father. All right, but as you read, you're going to see the King Josiah cleaned up the whole Israel. Look, and he caused all that were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand it, and the inheritance of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of Yah,
the Yah of their fathers. And Josiah took away all the abominations out of all the countries that pertain to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Israel to serve, even to serve the Elohim their Yah. In all his days they departed not from following the Elohim their Yah. All right. And then the Egyptians would come kill King Josiah. They would come kill him. And then Prophet Jeremiah was around during King Josiah times when he cleaned up the kingdom. So he already know, what was going to happen if we went back to the Egyptian religion, which we did. And then, that we would go into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. All right, let's get to the book of Jeremiah. And we're going to see this here. Man, we got messed up real bad fooling with that Egyptian religion. That's one of the worst things an Israelite can ever do is worship some Egyptian religion. You'll come out better worshiping the Illuminati and Satanism than to worship the Egyptian religion. I wouldn't, you worship that Egyptian religion, you worshiping exactly what the Creator told you not to do. Exactly. So, you go worshiping that Egyptian stuff, man, I'm an Egyptian religion killer. All right. The word of Jeremiah, the son of Halakah, of the priests that were in Anath in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Elohim came in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. So while King Josiah was still a little teenager, Prophet Jeremiah was there, and he witnessed us being cleaned up from that Egyptian religion. But then you will see that the Egyptians killed King Josiah and put his weak sons on the throne, and then we would go back to Egyptian religion. Now we would go back to Egyptian religion, and then that would cause our enslavement. And then we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, and we even played with the Creator on the way there, and that's what this is stated. If you go to chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18, is the most crucial verse, because here we is breaking the covenant. And then when we was enslaved, our heritage got blotted out, and then that's what you have today. Hebrews trying to pick it back up. All right, Jeremiah chapter 44. Verse 15, then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food and were well and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. So we went back into Egypt when Ashkenazi showed up. First they came the first time. After King Josiah was killed, that's going to be in 595 BC. That's going to be the book of Ezekiel. They came the first time, snatched some of us up and roughed us up. And we still didn't stop worshiping the Egyptian religion. And then they come back in the book of Jeremiah, and we will go into Africa. All the tribes that was around during King Hezekiah and King Josiah days was there to go into Africa, and we did. And this would be everybody. If you go to Second Kings chapter 25, verse 26. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldees. That's going to be Ashkenazi. The Scythians made up the Chaldean army. But you see that the great army, the captains of the armies, that's going to be that standing organized army that's in Africa in 500 BC.
in 500 BC, man, around about 600 BC, or around about 500 something BC, that standing army that was in the Sahara, that's going to be these Israelites right here, who they called the Grammentians. You know, they would call us Grammentians later on. And we had identical everything. I got a video going into this and about how close we were to Africa and, you know, the derogatory names. I covered the history all the way around. All the way around. All right, but you see how we went into Africa. That's all the tribes going into Africa. And we will go into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. And that's what the book of Jeremiah is about. You know, they killed King Josiah and then put us on the Egyptian religion. And then we will go into Africa and we will stay in Africa till the transatlantic slave trade started. And then we will be brung to the west in the other places. And here we are now, putting it together. But you Hebrews just teaching this false history that 10 lost tribes, or that when we went into Africa, we went to Spain and all them other places, you telling a lie. You don't know real history. You teaching myths and you damaging the Israelites. You damaging the Hebrews. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. You see how the king of the Jews, you know what I'm saying, letting you know that, you know what I'm saying, that me, Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood, is the king of Tanakh history. Look, this the boss of the Jews. This the boss right there. That's they boss. Look, this me, Israel being Israel. Look, he was saying how he of the king, how he gave an order for something in Washington D.C. to be done, and then how he laughed. All right, and then look, I said, I'm king of Tanakh history, dealing with the Israelites, and then guess what he did? Man, he know what time it is. I've been showing him the history. I've been showing him that, you know, it's some real truth out here. All right, Hebrews, like I said, you Hebrews that's teaching that false history, man, it's going to come a time where, you know what I'm saying, you're going to have to pay a price for it. You're going to have to pay a price if your history ain't correct. You're going to have to pay a price. And I have correct history. This is the Israelite Brotherhood. This is the only way that the Israelite history go. Shalom.